I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Okay.
May I have the roll call, please?
Dr. Beebe? Here. Dr. Beebe is present. Ms. Bopey? Here. Ms. Bopey is present. Ms. Bradford? Ms. Bradford is not present. Mr. Garvey? Here. Mr. Garvey is present. Mr. Gio? Mr. Gio is not present. Ms. Hill? Present. Ms. Hill is present. Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee is present. Dr. Moranci? Present. Dr. Moranci is present. Ms. Orange Jones? Ms. Orange Jones is not present. Mr. Romer? Here. Mr. Romer is present. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith is not present. Ms. Jackson? Present. Ms. Jackson is present. You have a quorum.
May I have the first item, please?
The consent agenda is ready for approval. We will be adding items 5.4 through 5.8, but pulling item 2.1 due to public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. There's not any discussion. Next item.
Item 2.1 on page number 1, consideration of the 2013-2014 teacher exit survey and attrition report. The recommendation is to receive.
Is there a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Dr. Beebe?
Good morning, board members and members of the audience. I just wanted to comment. I did read the report and regarding the teacher exit survey and attrition report, and I know that's required by the legislature. But wanted to make a comment about the teachers leaving the profession, and those that leave or those who left were more than likely the least effective teachers. And I can say from experience in the trenches that this is not the case. And you know, we have a real crisis at hand, and I know, just speaking to an experience that I have as a superintendent in a local district, we are having some great challenges finding teachers, certified teachers, to replace those that are leaving. There are those, we have some instances where we have the enrollment, but because there are no available teacher candidates, we are making doing the best that we possibly can. And when faced with accountability, you know, and I'm not whining, but the reality is, and I think this board needs to recognize that we need to do more. And I know that within the report, there is the Believe and Prepare program, the pilot program, and I just think we need our universities, we need more collaboration with universities, the teacher preparation programs, to get individuals interested in the education profession. I attribute the exodus to the hastily implemented reform initiatives. The stress is at the highest level in my 31 years. I can say that the morale is low, and it's not specific to my school district. It's from what I hear across the state. And I just think we need to look at this report carefully, and we need to do more to address our needs in the classroom. If we want positive student outcomes, we need to secure quality teachers, and I would venture to say many quality teachers are not available. There is a decrease in the interest in education as a career. So hopefully we will, with the accountability subcommittee, they will heed the voices, the concerns that have been presented as it relates to the teacher evaluation program. And once again, we need to take back our profession. We need to address the concerns And again, you know, we don't want to vilify teachers, but once again, this report, in my opinion, in my interpretation, is once again vilifying teachers who leave, those that are the least effective or those who are likely to leave, and then we blame it on the economy, that because of economic conditions, we're in a better position, teachers are in a better position to leave the profession at this time through retirement. So, and I also want to add, as a personnel director for 11 years, I will say that oftentimes when when individuals, employees complete their exit packets, they cite, generally speaking, you know, for personal reasons, because, as to quote many, they don't want to burn their bridges. And that's just what I wanted to state.
We have public comment from Miss Deborah Moe and Miss Lee Barrios. Can you go ahead and come forward? Go ahead.
Good morning. Debbie Moe, President of the Louisiana Association of Educators. I'm looking at the report, the section just above the conclusion portion of the report. It's titled, "Some Teacher Attrition is Positive, with Louisiana's Strongest Teachers Moving into School and District Leadership Roles." The entire report, I think, strives to put a positive light on teacher attrition. But this particular piece, I think, has more than one interpretation. If you look at the bar graph, it says that approximately 18% of the least effective teachers have left over the past 3 years. And the other portion of the bar graph says that approximately 42% of the most effective teachers are out of the classroom, either because they've left the profession or because they've moved up into leadership roles, which would be, I would assume, administrative roles. The bar graph also shows that you have a higher percentage of highly effective teachers leaving, 16% rather, versus 12% of the least effective. It also shows that you have 26% of your most effective teachers leaving the classroom for other roles in education. I really would like to submit that we as a state need to address these two ends of the effectiveness attrition. For those least effective who are leaving, I think that we need to do more to help these teachers find their skills that are appropriate for the classroom. In many cases, I know that a lot of these teachers are probably teachers who are retiring, but not all of them. As in the case of Dr. Beebe, I have worked with teachers who have said, enough is enough. Even though I'm not ready to retire, I'm going to retire. I can't handle this anymore. And I think it's because the support structures are not always there. On the other end of the effectiveness, where we have 26% of our most effective teachers going up into administrative roles, I would say that that's probably due to pay issues. You can make more money as an administrator. I would like to see us as a state address that problem. We need to keep our most effective teachers in the classroom. It should be financially feasible for them to do so. I can't say what percentage of teachers are leaving the profession because the numbers are not all here. The story's not completely told in this portion. However, I think that the rosy picture that's being painted here is not as rosy as we would like it to seem, or as whoever wrote the report would like it to seem. I work with teachers daily, and their stories are not always positive stories. That is what I think we need to change. Being in the classroom should be a positive experience for the kids, but it should also be a positive experience for our teachers. And I don't think we're doing quite enough to help in that area. Thank you.
Ms. Barrios.
Lee Bear. on. Lee Barrios, retired teacher from St. Tammany. I also felt the need, after speaking to a lot of teachers and being in constant contact with teachers, even though retired, to comment on this. I didn't have time to write a thorough response, which I plan to do before it goes before House and Senate Ed, but some general comments. First of all, generally a report like this was intended for a purpose, some analysis to come to a conclusion that would be helpful or to address a problem, and I didn't see that in this report. There were some false assumptions made that I think are totally have little to no value at all. The idea that attrition and retirement rates, first of all, were steady over the past 5 years. I don't know where that came from. I think everybody like Ms. Beebe and Ms. Moe, who has contact with teachers and goes to their local school board meetings, must know that the attrition rate has extremely increased over the last couple of years, attrition and retirement. The idea that attrition and retirement mirrors macroeconomic trends is just another example of how this administration looks at education as a business as opposed to working with human beings, and a total lack of understanding for the education profession. It's a false assumption that teachers leave the classroom in good economic times. There may be some correlation, but you can do that with almost any figures, to pursue higher paying opportunities. It implies that teachers stay in the classroom for economic safety or the inability to obtain other gainful employment, which is completely false. Most teachers teach, and all research has shown this, they teach because they love children and they love teaching. I don't know the purpose of projecting an average of attrition over 10 years. It seems to be meaningless. It seems like this report, one purpose of this report was to understand the problem, if you consider it a problem, that a lot more teachers are leaving, or why teachers leave the profession at all. So to give an average over 10 years, there's no purpose for that. To say that the strongest teachers, again, as Ms. Moe said, move into leadership positions is, again, a false assumption, especially when you consider what our teacher effectiveness
Ms. Barrio, can you wrap up your comments, please?
Okay. What our compass system is based on, which I make no secret that I believe it's totally bogus. So I would hope that before this is presented to the House and Senate Ed, that some true assumptions are made and that there is a purpose for this report. Thank you.
We also have comments from Miss Mary Patricia Ray. Dr. Moranti, if it's okay with you, I'll finish public comment and then we can have a discussion among the board.
Thanks. I want to thank the staff for accommodating me at the last minute. One of our local presidents, I'm Mary Patricia Ray with the Louisiana Federation of Teachers. One of our local presidents, Jackie Lansdale with Red River United, wanted to be here today to testify. She had a family medical issue and was unable to do so. And so I wanted to just read briefly her very short testimony into the record. She wanted to provide you with an example of why the report doesn't help us, isn't a good feedback tool for what we need to do to make the teaching profession a more desirable one to enter into in Louisiana. So she wrote, teachers, especially new teachers, typically suffer and resign in silence. In the Recovery School District's transformation zone, of the 9 new teachers hired this school year, 7 have already resigned. The seventh teacher made her decision over the Thanksgiving break, writing me that she could not take it one more day. When we brought this to the attention of the Transformation Zone Director, he stated that new teachers were the most malleable. They want to save the world. If they don't stay, the only thing they believe they have saved is their sanity. We have asked the district to pass a policy stating that no teachers shall be assigned to the Transformation Zone. The Transformation Zone is a creation between the Caddo School District and the University of Virginia as directed by the Recovery School District. Certification and other professional issues have taken a backseat to the authority of the principals and directors. This has led to non-existent attrition. For example, one teacher was assigned there from a reconstituted school. He is a 14-year certified physical education teacher. He was assigned to teach science, a subject in which he has absolutely no background. Another school in the transformation zone had a physical education position available. This teacher applied but was not chosen, as a teacher with no certification and from outside the district was chosen instead. After suffering through a negative observation, without much feedback on how to actually improve, the teacher sought a sabbatical to study for the spring of 2015 to improve her skills. The sabbatical was turned down by the superintendent, broadly stating it was not in the best interest of the district. We will be hard put to keep this teacher teaching in this district. Clearly no superintendent should make decisions about earned sabbatical leave right in a vacuum, although the law now allows for this. Just another example of something that's leading to teachers leaving our district for reasons that are not valued. Academically unacceptable status is damaging to the careers of the teachers and administrators that teach in this district. Teachers and administrators ask to be assigned to these schools for all the right reasons. They want to improve them. They want to turn them around. Yet when the school does not turn around, they are treated like the pariahs of the system. Statements are made that nobody wants these bad teachers teaching at the good schools. Again, this is very damaging to our profession, and is not indicate, and these examples are not indicated in the data collected. So while we recognize that the statute requires this report to be made every year, and that the legislators gave this body the authority to report it in a manner that would actually be useful to do something about the problem of overwhelming exodus from our profession, that's not happening. And so I'm hopeful that with this example in mind, this body will be supportive of legislation during the next session that will better detail what the breakout of data in this report needs to be and what the goal of the report is. Thank you.
Dr. Moranti?
I thought all of the testimonies were just really right on target. I really appreciate, even just being able to address this. When I look at 48%, when you consider retirement, when you consider employment outside of the field, when you consider personal reasons, I think we have a plethora of anecdotal evidence that's not reported, but I do believe that something could be done at the state level. We entice our new teachers to go to schools that are at-risk schools, and we know this is not the best environment to go into a classroom when they have so many challenges in front of them. I think as a board we have some very serious challenges when we're nearing a 50% attrition rate. I think that we have to step back. It's a wake-up call. I appreciated the reports very much because it gave me an opportunity to look at this. We have students at my university, and I think this is really high quality. They do get employed even before they finish student teaching. That's the need that's out there. But I do think that we could do something at a state level. I think that we could. We're not getting a whole lot of applicants into traditional teaching programs. We're getting them more at the MAT program. But we have to do something. I know that we at Xavier are really working really hard to bring students into our program. But I think that this is a serious report, and I do believe that we got to step back and look at it. And what can we do, as Dr. Beebe said, what can we do to entice our students to come into the profession of teaching? It is a noble profession, but it's not a business. It really is a ministry, and I think that if you really talk to the teachers, they're not in it for the money. They are really in it for the love that they have for their profession. We tell our students, if you don't love students and children, don't stay in. You really do need to give it your all. So I appreciate the opportunity to just have a few comments to make.
Ms. Jackson, would you like to speak?
I would. I'm a teacher in the schools, and I've been teaching for 22 years. And I have seen, I appreciate all the comments as well, and the survey and the report. And I do believe that we are making efforts as a state to look at the reports and see what we can do to help teacher effectiveness and leadership effectiveness. we've had a few meetings, which many of you here have been a part of, where college professors, leaders, parents, teachers, administrators have gotten together to discuss what are the problems, what do we see, and how can we address them. And I believe that, and we're actually having a meeting tomorrow, and I believe that we are on the road to trying to figure some of these things out. I think that our state, you know, I'm a teacher. There is a lot of stress. There's a lot of a lot of stress that teachers have to try and do what's right and best for kids. And I do believe we're in a transition mode, but we do need to be patient and understand that we are working towards trying to fix some of these problems where we can keep those highly effective teachers in the classrooms and help those that are not highly effective to become better teachers.
Dr. Beebe?
Thank you, Ms. Bofi. You know, sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, and in hindsight, the teacher advancement program some years ago, in fact, former Superintendent Walter Lee, the DeSoto School District increased by 2 letter grades with the implementation of TAP. And again, the support and assistance given to teachers, the coaching, the teacher coaches. I mean, the answers are before us, but the reality is we've invested millions of dollars in a teacher evaluation program that basically yielded the same results that we had for years. And you know, if we had invested wisely, we could have had more TAP schools in place. And I'm sure there are critics of the TAP program, but I certainly support the assistance given to our teachers. We do, you know, and there, as Dr. Moranti said, fewer people are going into the profession. You know, I've recruited teachers out of restaurants. They were degreed, willing to pursue alternate credentials. And again, it takes time to develop those teachers, and we don't have the resources at the district level to assist these teachers in the, you know, with their needs. I mean, it would almost have to be one-on-one. It would have to be someone there to provide consistent guidance. We can say that's the role of the principal or assistant principals. But there is so much to be done with the reform initiatives, you know, one initiative after the other. You know, we're spinning like a top in the districts trying to meet timelines. We do, Dr. Moranti, and I appreciate you saying it publicly, you know, we are in crisis mode, despite what the report says, and we know that we can always take results and spin it to the outcome we would like to have, but the legislature needs to be aware that you know, we don't have roses, that there are some serious concerns in our districts, and if we facing accountability, if we're going to make the grade, we need the quality personnel in the classroom.
Just oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lee, were you speaking?
Just a comment. I think we all recognize that it is a stressful time. Change is stressful. Change is not easy for anybody, and reform is not easy. So I think the State Department does recognize that. They are working to improve in-service so that teachers can be more comfortable. But in addition to that, and it takes time, as indicated, but there's also growing concern with health care and retirement, and those are costly, and the legislature is likely to address that, and I think we just need to always be mindful that we need to support teachers and teaching and education and try to support the benefits because retirement and insurance are two of the things that keep a lot of teachers in the classroom. So the more we can be mindful that teachers need support, different kinds of support, I think that helps.
Superintendent White?
I just wanted to thank the board members and the audience for their comments. This is a critical issue. I also want to thank Dr. Beebe for complimenting DeSoto Parish. I was on the phone with Mr. Lee's successor recently talking about the successes that they've had using the TAP model. I was on the phone with Dr. Peugeot, Dr. Beebe, who you will know also uses the TAP school, the TAP model, and I believe that the TAP model is something that we should expand by any means necessary in the state, and we're looking at ways to do that. So I wanted to thank you very much for raising that.
Is there any objection to receiving the report? What's our next item, please?
On page 11, item 3.1, consideration of approval of a teacher education program at Tulane University. The recommendation is to approve.
I move approval.
Second.
I've got like 3 motions there. Do you need me to repeat any? We've got a motion and a second. Did you get it? Okay. All right. Is there any discussion of this item? Is there any objection to this item? Hearing none, motion carries. What's our next item?
On page 14, item 3.2, consideration of approval of a request from Louisiana State University at Alexandria to delay the joint CAEP state accreditation visit from fall 2016 to fall 2017. The recommendation is to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Is there any objection to this item? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item, please.
On page 17, item 4.1, consideration of revisions to Bulletin 746, Louisiana Standards for State Certification of School Personnel to reflect new Praxis Elementary content exams required for Louisiana licensure. The recommendation is to approve as a notice of intent.
I move.
I have a motion and then a second by Ms. Hill. Superintendent White, would you like to discuss this one?
I would. Members, this is part of a series of changes that have had to have been made over the course of the last several meetings related to the tests the teachers take in order to qualify for licensure. And the test on a national level that has traditionally been taken in Louisiana, called the Praxis test, which you know about, is changing. And we are asking today your consideration of a plan to gradually phase in the elementary education content knowledge exam, which would be a new version of the Praxis, over a 2-year period. This process would take place between September of this year and ultimately September of 2017, so there would be a kind of phase-in process. Secondly, the multiple subjects examination, which does not just strictly the elementary subject area but also expands into other content tests, would be effective and would be mandatory and required then as of September of 2017. So you have the current test would be phased out over a 2-year period. The new test would be phased in and made mandatory as of September 1 of 2017. This test is a better test, we believe, that more appropriately addresses the wide range of subject areas that elementary educators are called to employ every day. 6 states have already addressed it and have already adopted it as well. And the test that we have historically used is being phased out by the publisher of that assessment. So this is a change that we, in essence, are called to make. But here's what I want to emphasize to you. In changing this assessment for future teacher candidates, number one, this does not have any impact on anyone currently in the classroom. Number two, we're not just saying tomorrow, tomorrow this change has to be made. This will be made over a period of now to 2.5 years from now. So there's plenty of time for educator preparation programs and for teacher candidates themselves to get caught up on the content of this new assessment. Happy to discuss more details, and our staff is here as well. I'm sorry, and I've been corrected. It's not 16, it's 17 states have adopted the new test as well. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Dr. Moranti and then Mr. Lee.
I really appreciate the phase-in to this because it's going to have an impact on CAPE and also, on national accreditation and giving the teacher education programs the time to look at their key assessments, because this is one of the big indicators of core knowledge. So I'm really happy about the phase-in program, and I think a lot of information has to be given out. But I do know that we're moving in the right direction with this for sure.
Mr. Lee?
You indicated that Louisiana is one of 17 states that has adopted new standards. Can we assume that the cutoff for Louisiana is fairly compatible with the rest of the nation?
Yes, it is the same cutoff as other states.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Is there any objection? We're going to go to public comment before I find out. Ms. Barrios?
Lee Barrios, retired teacher, St. Tammany. So I learned something new about the practice and licensure. It was different when I got my certification. When I looked at this particular agenda item. When I went to the website, though, I do have a question. I didn't see any indication that the Content Knowledge Exam 5014 would be phased out. So I'm wondering if that's meaning the state will phase it out or that ETS will actually phase it out, because they don't give any indication of that. Matter of fact, I didn't realize either. I thought the praxis was the same test was given in all states for all teachers for certification. I found out they were actually designed for individual needs or for states. And I think the question was answered, will the cutoff score be the same? And correct me if I'm wrong again, but what I heard was that it would be the same for 17 states that have adopted this praxis test, because my understanding was that those are set by the states also. Obviously, there's a need for a new test, or there will be a need, because things change in education, and certainly with Common Core, this test, according to ETS, will be aligned with Common Core. Because the praxis is not the same test given in all states, we have the same problem, of course, as the Common Core test, or the PARCC test, or the SBAC test. And so that's a concern. And I wonder if this state is going to review this new test when it's written, if teachers will have an opportunity to evaluate it. And certainly I saw Dr. Burns here. I wonder what status the university has with this new test. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. What's our next item, please?
On page 25, item 5.1, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Jeffrey Rogers. The recommendation is to either grant or deny.
So I need a motion.
I move to approve.
A second.
So we have a motion by Dr. Beebe to grant and a second by Ms. Hill. I see that the individual is here. Did the board members have any questions that they'd like to ask? Do you?
I don't have a question.
Okay.
I would not mind at all if you would just make a brief statement about what you're doing currently and what you're trying to do in the next few years.
Okay. My name's Jeff Rogers. I'm a special education teacher at Franklinton Elementary School in Washington Parish. I'm married, been married for 14 years. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I enjoy teaching. I spend my time with my family. My goals this is my first year teaching, so my goal is to stay teaching. And by the way, I have no plans on quitting teaching. I just want everyone to know that. So I guess my 5-year goal right now would be to be a highly effective teacher in 5 years. I have a master's degree in special ed, so administration position wouldn't be out of the question in the future. So that is my professional goal, and my personal goal is to enjoy my family and live a relatively boring life.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. What's our next item, please? I will say, sir, that things are not official till tomorrow.
On page 53, item 5.2, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Lester Jenkins. The recommendation is to either grant or deny.
I move to grant.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Dr. Beebe, a second by Ms. Hill. The individual is here with us. Are there any questions from board members?
Yes.
Mr. Garvey?
It says here that there were several arrests. It doesn't say when, but I'm assuming recently, and I was wondering what those arrests were for.
The last arrest was in 2008, in the wrong place at the wrong time, and thanks to the good Lord, I don't have to worry about any of that anymore. I'm not the same person I was then. I was going through a difficult time at the time, and still handling it the right way. I just handled it the wrong way.
It says several arrests. Were there others?
One was alcohol related, one was marijuana related, and the other one was I think there was 2 of one and 1 of the other.
It also says that
It's in a packet.
Mr. Jenkins did not indicate on his professional conduct form that he had been convicted of a felony. Why would you have left that on?
At the time when I did it, the original time that I filled out the paperwork, the thing was all supposed to be expunged. I was going to let the expungement go. I recontacted the people and straightened it out with them because I had a feeling, trying to deal right with the Lord, that I was wrong with it. So I informed them of everything and gave them all the paperwork so that this could come forward. And that's why we're here right now trying to get it all straightened out so I can continue teaching and coaching.
Ms. Bradford?
I'm appreciative of the fact that you say you've changed. What would you give as evidence of that?
Ma'am?
What would you give as evidence of that?
I'm very active in the church now. I spend all my time is either spent with the teaching in the Baker School System or with my church, and that's all I ever do anymore. I'm trying to live my life for the Lord. I realize in education we can't mix religion and education, so I don't, but at the same time I pray that people see the Lord in me.
Did you receive counseling or some kind of program with your alcohol abuse or substance abuse?
No, ma'am, I've never went to anything professionally to do it, but it's like I've always said, if someone's not willing to quit something, you're really wasting time sending them through something. As far as a program, they've got to be willing to quit. And when you put it in the Lord's hands, you can overcome and quit with no desires or anything.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
And I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
I know it's not easy. Your most recent arrest was in 2008?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there were, I don't know how much we can talk about. I mean, I want to be careful. Since then, have there been
No, sir.
no incidents?
No, sir.
Are there comments from any other board members? The motion on the floor is to grant. Is there objection to that motion?
I object.
I object.
Do I need a roll call? No. I think there were three.
Mr. Garvey.
Ms. Bradford and Mr. Romer.
Still pass.
Does it pass or not?
3 out of 6, yeah. 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it passed.
Three out of 7 objected. Yep. Motion passes. Next item.
On page 91, item 5.3, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Corey Allen. The recommendation is to either grant or deny.
I move to grant.
I second.
So we have a motion on the floor to grant, and we have a second. Are there questions from board members?
I'd like to hear a statement.
Hi, I'm Corey Allen. I'm currently employed in Jefferson Parish at Stell Elementary as the health and physical education teacher, and I also do after-school tutoring with the kids. Also, I'm a mentally and physically a trainer for high school and middle school students. Engaged, I get married December 27th this month. I adopted an 8-year-old son with my fiance, and I'm doing everything right and everything to be a highly effective teacher in the school system of Jefferson Parish.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, the packet, I have a question. The packet says, again, like it did for another person that was here earlier, that the applicant did not disclose his felony conviction on his professional conduct form. I would like to know why you didn't bother to let...
I was not convicted till after I graduated and received my certificate. And then my record was expunged, and I didn't do any of my paperwork until everything was expunged, until the lawyers recommended that I go in. I could go into my teaching after my 3-year period.
Well, let me ask Jan then. If there's not a conviction until after the form is to be filled out, should we note
What I have
that?
is that this form was submitted in December of 2013, where you checked no. And the conviction was prior to that.
I received my certification in January 2000. In December 2008, and I was convicted in January 2009. When I checked no on there, that my lawyer told me that I did not have to, because it was expunged, that I did not have to put that I was convicted of any felony, unless it was a federal
Back to
agency.
staff, what is the rule on expungements?
The actual question that he checked no to says even if expunged or adjudicated, or adjudication withheld. So the expungement question was included.
And that's on the form, written?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's on page 94.
So I think, can I speak, Ms. Opie?
Let me see if Mr. Garvey's finished first.
Yeah, I'm finished.
He's finished. Yes, Ms. Hill.
As a board, I think that we need to revisit, because what's happening, and we're seeing it time and time again, that these individuals are coming and they're thinking that, they have, their record has been expunged, and their attorneys are telling them to do one thing, but then we as a board is, holding some of these issues against them. So I think as a board, we need to look at the policy to make sure that it's clear, because if I'm being told by my attorney to do one thing, who is my legal counsel and advisor, and then I check it and then I'm being held accountable, I think that as a board we need to look into maybe creating a box where we would state where even if you have been, even if like your situation, it has been expunged, that you must reveal it in such how many years, if it's 2, 3, 5, 6 years. I'm just putting it out there because I think there's some miscommunication there. And as an individual, of course, I'm going to do what my legal counsel advised me to do, because that's who I chose to represent me. So I think that's something we should look at moving forward.
Ms. Bradford.
if you'll remember, we did change this form because before it did not say anything about expungement, and now that is very clearly stated here. Now, if an attorney advises him against it, that's between him and his attorney. But the truth of the matter is that we did take that into advisement and we did change it because we thought there was an area of confusion or miscommunication of somehow, and so we did make it very clear what we were looking for. I think we can always revisit it, but I do want to point out that we have already done that recently.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion by board members?
I have a question.
Mr. Romer?
I appreciate you being here today. To what, I don't know what degree we can talk about the charges, but I suppose you don't have to answer them. One of the charges here that the offense was illegal carrying of a weapon, and second offense of possession of marijuana. And then I believe I read that, or at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, I read that you said those items were in your an apartment that was in your name but was not yours. Is that?
That was correct also. I never did any jail time or anything like that, and I was only, the judge recommended that I be on a 941, I believe, to get my record expunged because I wasn't even there at the time that anything happened. I had to go and come back and turn myself in, but the apartment was at least in my name when I was in college.
And you've been working, I'll read it again, but remind me where you've been currently working?
I'm currently employed at Estelle Elementary in Jefferson Parish. I'm the head track coach and also after-school tutor.
I noticed several of your former, or at least a few of your former mentors that you were mentoring wrote letters on your behalf. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other discussion? Questions from board members? Is there any objection to the motion? The motion is to grant. We have one objection. Is there any other objection? Motion carries. Two objections, sorry. Motion carries. Next item. Bradford. Is that it? That's our last item. This meeting is adjourned. The next meeting will start at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.